about your journey in starting STAXX and what led you here.
Yeah, I'm stoked. It'll be awesome.
Awesome. So maybe you can give us just a quick 30-second intro about you, and maybe a quick reason why you decided to start STAXX.
Totally. So my name's Dylan Hendrickson. I just turned 25 a few months ago. I'm getting married this August. I own STAXX with my partner, Alex. It's fractional CFO and accounting for primarily online businesses. And then I also coach high school basketball. It's pretty much between wife and STAXX and coaching. That's where most of my time goes.
That's awesome. Well, happy early birthday. And
Thank
also
you.
happy wedding. I had no idea that you guys were getting married so soon. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're stoked. Just a few months away.
Love it. So I'd love to understand maybe just a quick dive into why you guys decided to go all in on STAXX. Was there a defining moment in your life, maybe coming out of school, where you're like, we see an area that is underserved, let's start something? How did STAXX come about?
Totally. So it's a somewhat long story, but I'll try to say it as quickly as I can. So basically 2019, like pre-COVID. So 2019, August of 2019, I started, or actually November of 2019, excuse me. I started working at an accounting firm in my hometown where I was playing college football. And it was a unique accounting firm for the time. Like, they were one of the earlier, monthly recurring type accounting firms where they're doing, books and taxes and payroll and everything. And the really interesting thing about working there is none of the partners had accounting degrees or maybe even college degrees. I know 2 of the 4 partners didn't even have college degrees. They were salesmen. And so looking at them, it was like, okay, I don't even necessarily need my CPA to own an accounting business, first of all. But that's where I saw the model as far as, doing everything on a monthly basis. And then I went and worked at a tax firm during my master's degree in 2022. And while I was there, basically what I was doing is I was doing tax returns from scratch. So there was these business owners that had no bookkeeping, and I basically would download their bank statements and I would create financial statements for them in Excel using their bank statements. And it kind of just became really clear that, like, there was tons of business owners out there that had no bookkeeping, no proactive, financial accounting advice. And were really just kind of hoping that their business was making money. And at that point, I had actually started my accounting business, which was Sledge Accounting at the time. And it was just bookkeeping at first. And I started that while I was in college, late 2021. And so I kept growing that. I actually have never had a job outside of college, outside of my own accounting firm, which was Sledge Accounting. And then I joined a coaching program called Client Ascension, which is awesome. And when I was in there, I met another CPA who's Alex, my partner. And then that summer we started working on a couple of clients kind of collaboratively. And then this past October, we went to their in-person event in Tampa, Florida, and we got a place to stay together. And that last night, before we had, 6 a.m. flights, we didn't go to bed. We stayed up all night talking just about our businesses. And, we just kind of came to the realization that we were serving the same people. We were getting clients from the same places. Our offer was incredibly similar. And it was like, we might as well just partner up and, take all of it versus competing against each other.
Love that. Yeah. Those sleepless nights where you're just focused on building, or focused on collaborate, focused on workshopping something. I recall, like, the last time I did that, I have a background in filmmaking, and we did a 48-hour film festival. And part of that was, you got to make a movie in 2 days. So you're not going to sleep, like, you're not going to bed. And there's this adrenaline, there's this extra gear that you can kind of shift into. Did you guys find that sort of extra gear while you were, up at 4 a.m., just like talking about business and talking about the possibility of starting something together?
Yeah. And so for context too, he had already had STAXX. So STAXX is what Alex founded. And I was studying accounting at the time. And so really that night was, would a partnership make sense? Like, could we both provide value to the other person that, you know, the could we both provide value to each other, basically? Because
Yep.
we both knew that we'd both be successful doing it on our own. I think we both could get to where we want to go on our own. But it was like, okay, how much faster and more efficient could we get there doing it together?
Yeah.
So really, that's what a lot of that night was about.
Love it.
And it's been great. And it's honestly a million times better doing it with somebody that's as passionate as you are about it than trying to do it alone, at least in my experience so far.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Having a partner is kind of like a major unlock for me as well. I started Spring Studio with a partner, and it's been awesome. Tell me about
It's great.
tell me about your time playing football, and like, are there, like, I'm reading into this, and it sounds like there might be some parallels between your time playing football at Utah Tech and starting something, like, especially starting something with a partner. Like, you guys are now a team, a team of two before you hire anybody, but you're a team of two. Can you draw any parallels between playing football at high level and building a business with a partner?
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Like the older I get, the more it's all the same. Like college football, running a business, running, a relationship, a family. It's all the same principles, and they all connect. And there was moments during my football career. So I played 6 seasons at Utah Tech, which is a long time. I played a season even after I already had my master's degree. And there was moments through that time where I felt like I was getting behind, like career-wise and monetarily, but I just kind of had a conviction that finishing my football career and using all the eligibility that I had would lead to me being a better business owner. And I definitely think that has been true. And I do take a lot of our core values at STAXX come from the things I learned playing football, like relentless effort, and even coaching high school basketball. It's all we talk about, relentless effort. That'll always give you, it doesn't guarantee that you'll win, but it'll definitely give you the best chance at winning.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. Relentless effort. I'm gonna write that down. Would you say that, like, thinking about those core values, I would imagine, the time playing football, as you just mentioned, like the time playing football kind of influenced some of those core values, and some of the things that you brought over to running a business. What about, like, specific bits of advice that you've learned during your football career from a coach or a mentor or anything like that? Like, was there something beyond that relentless effort that you can think to, that you've carried over into STAXX, whether it's culture or just kind of the way you run your business?
Yeah, relentless effort's the big one. I would say another big one is it's the Urban Meyer thing that we talked about. We talked about this even in high school football and college football, but it's called like E plus R equals O, which is event plus response equals outcome. And basically the whole idea is that you only have control over your responses, right? So the event could be, a sales call, for example, and your response is, how you act on that sales call and how you sell. And the outcome is, did they sign or did they not sign? And you only have control over your response, really. So if you're not getting the outcomes that you want, then you need to change what your response is, right? So that's just an equation for life in general. If your relationship sucks, then you probably need to do something different to get a different outcome.
Yeah.
If you keep failing the math test over and over again, you probably need to change your response and maybe start studying for the test a little more, right?
Yeah.
Or if, you come from a family that maybe hasn't accomplished much in the past, you probably need to choose a different life path than the people that came before you to change that outcome.
Love it. Love it. The ball is literally in your court to make those choices. It's also very, like, there's some parallels between, it sounds like, stoicism, and like it's almost kind of in line with the sort of stoicism philosophy, like you can only control what you can control type of thing. But this is kind of broken down into a nice, neat little formula, which I really like. So pivoting over to like STAXX itself and maybe company culture and what you guys are building. How do you and Alex define success at STAXX beyond traditional business metrics?
We just really like our whole goal is to provide a service in the accounting world that's like super proactive, super responsive, and allows business owners to feel like they're playing on offense. And as long as our clients are getting that, that's a success. So we've really tried to be, client obsessed and product obsessed into giving our clients the best service possible when it comes to this. And to us, all the monetary stuff will follow as long as we're staying client obsessed and really trying to serve them the best that we can.
I love that. I mean, that kind of goes back to one of your earlier points of like everything's the same. If you're client obsessed, you're going to understand pain points. You're going to understand like where there's true value in what you can provide, what you should double down on, what you should focus on, what you should abandon, all of that stuff. If you're client obsessed, that will kind of reveal itself.
Totally. And it's the same thing. I mean, in a relationship with your wife, you put them first and, be obsessed about you being the best you can for them. And it's the same thing for the client. It's the same thing in a team setting. Mm-hmm. For sure. It all intertwines for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It sounds like you're ready to get married, man. I mean, it sounds like you've got it at least figured out. I will say, as somebody who is married, who's been married for a little while, I mean, you hit the bullseye. Have you and Alex developed any sort of unorthodox like practices or policies that you've implemented at STAXX that you believe have made a significant impact to the team or the culture over there, that you would say are just kind of out there, kind of different?
I mean, I don't know if I would say that it's different, but I mean, I think a realization that we recently had, because when you're first starting your business and stuff, like the mission and core values and that kind of stuff just seems like big corporate-y stuff that doesn't really matter. But the realization that I've had recently is like the core values and the mission, that's not for your clients as much it is for your internal team. That's what I realized recently, is because, if you want team members that can act autonomously and can make their own decisions, they have to have a framework for making those decisions. And so, we've recently, gone out and outlined a lot of that stuff as far as, what are some of our core values and our standards as far as the service we deliver, and, a framework for making decisions in the business. And that's definitely helped a ton. The other thing we've started doing for certain roles within our businesses, we like hard schedule the work, which I think some people would disagree with. We've found it to be much more efficient recently. But actually, like scheduling, like on this day, you're going to do this, 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 and this for these clients. And the next day it's this, but for these clients, and just super scheduled out. So we do that mixed with an end of day form. And it's just, there's like 3 levels of accountability there, because it's on the calendar. There's an end of day form where they tell us what they did. And we can, check that everything aligns. So those are 2 things we've done recently that we've seen, material improvements in our business from doing those 2 things. I don't know if I'd quite say they're unorthodox though.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I think there is something to say about, the end of day forms and on one hand, you might receive some feedback that it feels a little micromanagey. We do it at Spring Studio as well. And it is so helpful because, like you said, it's just another level of accountability, but it also, for us at least, gives us visibility into, where there might be a gap, where they might need some help on certain things. So it's just like another level of visibility and accountability. Would you, thinking back to kind of like growing the team and growing the culture, are you thinking about what that team and what the future of STAXX looks like right now? Or are you guys just laser focused on, building every single day and not really worrying about what happens, 3 years out, 5 years out?
It's both, really. And something me and Alex have started doing too is we have 2 meetings a week where it's me and him that are, it's scheduled out. And one of those meetings is completely focused on in the business, what's going on right now, what do we need to fix right now, how can we help the team right now? And one of those meetings is completely focused on the business, where it's more long-term thinking, more strategic thinking. So it's definitely a mixture of both. We both, have a pretty clear picture of where we're trying to go. My whiteboard, you can't really see it in the frame, I don't think, but on there it says the Bentley of accounting firms. And that's what we're really trying to be, is that white glove Bentley level service for our market as far as accounting and CFO services go. And really what comes with that is, to get to that, we have to have A players and we have to have talent. And that's where, we are a team of 6 right now. And it's something that I'm thinking about a lot right now is, how do we get the next A player in here to keep providing that Bentley level service and to allow us to keep growing.
Yeah. What a fantastic framework or choice that you guys made to have those 2 standing weekly meetings where you get to focus on, one meeting is just focused on what we're currently hyper obsessed about and what we're currently focused on in the business. And then another meeting where you can think a little bit more strategically, a little bit more high level, kind of remove yourself.
And I'm sure you could attest to that. Like, I'm sure you having a partner, I'm sure, you have a meeting with a partner, you could go a million different directions and have a million conversations in 60 minutes. If it's not
our meeting, like that's
structured.
It's such an unlock for me, because our meetings right now are super unstructured and they last like 3 hours where we're talking about literally everything in one go. And at the end of it, I'm just like, all right, time for a nap. Like, I am done. Like that was so much. It feels like I just got out of like a 9-hour marathon of or doing something. Like it was.
And we've had plenty of those. You're not alone.
Yeah. That's awesome. So what about the future of the industry as a whole? Where do you guys see the future of bookkeeping, tax prep, CPAs heading?
There's a lot of people that think AI will completely replace it really soon. I personally think we're still a very long ways away from that. I mean, I guess depending on your timeline, I definitely don't think it's happening in the next 5 or 10 years, personally. To people that don't understand accounting, they think it's a lot more simple and straightforward than it is. There's a ton of nuance. We serve about 30 clients, and every engagement is different between the 30 clients. I mean, there's little wrinkles in every single thing. So at the end of the day, people are still going to need a trusted person. People are still going to need a personal touch for the strategic advisory and whatnot. But the industry as a whole, I mean, you have a lot of older CPAs. I think the average CPA age is around 55 years old, if I'm not mistaken. So you have a lot of older CPAs, and you have a lot of college students who are choosing to not take that degree. They're choosing to not do the accounting degree, partly because the universities do a really poor job marketing it, but also you hear the horror stories of people going to a Big 4 accounting firm and working 80 hours a week and getting paid not very much, which does happen. But overall, for anybody who's, looking for a career path, I would argue accounting has some of the most opportunity out there. And that's kind of where me and Alex are at. There's less and less accountants entering the industry, and there's more and more of them leaving it. So I think, if we can stick around and survive and thrive, there's a lot of business to be acquired and money to be obtained over the next decade for sure.
Yeah, survive and thrive. I'm 100% with you on the whole AI thing. Like I'm paying close attention, and it threatens the creative industry a little bit as well. But I still think we're ways out. There's especially in the creative space, like there will most likely always need to be a human touch to creating things. And if AI can be an assistant in helping get us, get that creativity out there, then great. But I do think there will be that human element, that human touch that needs to stay in place.
Yeah. I think it'll accelerate workflows.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll help accelerate workflows. It might make accountants be able to work a little faster. It might make it to where accountants can take on more clients, and things like that. But I think we're quite a long ways away from full blown replacement.
Yeah. And not to mention there needs to be a personal touch in your space, knowing how quickly legislation changes and passes, what the new rules are, what the new laws are, and relying on AI to make sure that that model has captured the most recent update. Like that's a little sketchy.
Totally.
Awesome. So another question, just specifically about bookkeeping, accounting, tax prep. Kind of a selfish question here. Is there one thing, or is there something that founders aren't doing or aren't thinking about regarding their taxes, bookkeeping, that you kind of consider as a quick win, something that they can do now to better position themselves come tax season?
Yeah, that's a great question, and something we've been thinking about a lot. And I would say 90% of the people that we have a sales call with, or that we end up working with, there's first of all, most founders and owners couldn't tell the difference between good accounting or bad accounting, even if they wanted to. And there's definitely a difference between having a set of financial statements that is good enough to be used to file your tax return versus having a set of financial statements that's also optimized for business analysis and business decision making. So one of the things that we see a lot is getting kind of in the weeds, but a lot of times what we see is, even for B2B agencies, e-com, whatever, they don't have their cost of services or their cost of goods sold broken out on their, income statement. So for example, they'll have, their net revenues or their total revenue, and then there's no cost of services. So then their gross profit is the same number as their total revenue. So you're not getting to actually see the gross profit. And all of those cost of services or cost of goods are just getting put into operating expenses. So what that looks like is you see, like I mentioned, no gross profit. Your gross profit is the same as your total revenue. You just see total revenue, operating expenses, net income. But the thing is if you can actually show your cost of services and get an actual gross profit margin, then you can improve upon it, right? There's 3 ways to increase profitability. And one of those ways is increasing your gross profit margin. Because if your gross profit margin goes up, that directly leads to your net profits going up. So I think that's one way you could have a quick win is, thinking what are our direct costs of fulfilling the service we provide. So for you guys being a design studio, if you have a contractor and their whole function is to, do design work, to me, that should be at a cost of service broken out on your income statement and going into your gross profit margin.
Love that. No, perfect answer. I love that. It's going to be a nice little clip that we extract out of this and plaster all over social. Yeah. That's great.
I actually just made a full YouTube video about that topic.
Perfect. I'll link to it. That's awesome. Cool. So as far as the future of STAXX, you mentioned wanting to be the Bentley of accounting and tax prep. Like, what do you see? Like, do you guys have a near term ambitious goal that you're looking at or focused on right now?
It's really getting the next A player.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of where we're at mentally, is like, we need to get the people in that can live to that standard. And nobody's going to ever quite care about it as much as the founders do, but we want to get people in here that are pretty dang close, that really care about, our mission and what we're providing. Because, at the end of the day, like, our service is a high trust service. People are trusting us with their finances and their books and with their taxes, so if we can make that a great experience and a great process and alleviate the stress for the business owner around their finances, a lot of times that can have a material effect on their day-to-day happiness in their life with their family and their, just their day-to-day life. So It is an important thing that we're doing. And I think it's just conveying that message to our team members and getting the next person in here that'll allow for that growth, because we are very passionate about our service. And I think the accounting industry as a whole is a very reactive industry. There's a lot of tax mill type CPA firms that are just marking boxes and filing tax returns just to keep you compliant. They're not really looking out for your best interests or trying to help you save the most on taxes. Or there's a ton of horror stories about, people messaging their accountant and not getting a reply for 3 or 4 weeks sometimes. And that's after 3 or 4 emails, to where, we shoot to respond within 24 hours in our Slack channels to clients every time, no matter what. So just like getting the team there so we can help more and more business owners.
Sure. Yeah. That makes sense. I feel like when you have very high standards for your team, hiring becomes probably the hardest job, right? Within a business.
Super hard.
Yeah. You have the highest standards. You're looking for those A players. They are not easy to find. So all of a sudden that job of hiring them and sourcing them and finding them becomes really, really difficult because it's so important. It's so important to the brand. It's so important to the company. I get it. What would you,
and you just gotta do it.
And you just got to do it. Yeah, exactly. All right, cool. So as we're wrapping up, I like to finish these with just some lighthearted stuff. How do you stay productive personally? Like, is it a morning routine? I know you coach basketball and like you've got a lot of balls that you're juggling. How do you stay locked in, focused, productive, on work stuff?
Well, kind of jokingly, I went my whole life, or the past 10 years at least, with almost zero caffeine. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't drinking coffee these days. Within the last month, I've kind of gone on to my coffee arc, which definitely helps, especially because my tolerance was like literally zero because I never had it. So that helps me get wired in. But honestly, there's a handful of people I get business advice from, and I would put Alex Ramosi into that group of people. And he talks a lot about just doing what's required. And so I just do what's required, regardless of what that looks like. Sometimes that looks like, super transparently, that's 3 or 4 hours of really focused work. And there's other days where I have a harder time getting into that. And sometimes it's a 12-hour day, but maybe it's not full-blown focused and productive for that entire 12 hours. Sometimes it's 2 a.m. nights. Sometimes it's waking up at 6 a.m. I don't have a super dialed in routine or schedule. And it's something I'm working on improving on is, the same way that we've started scheduling work for our team members. Me and Alex have been working on creating schedules the night before on our calendars and following them and honoring the calendar. We have a mentor that teaches us business who's multi-million guy. I mean, his 8-figure business that he runs. And he says the best people, the elite people in life honor their calendars. And so we're in the process of getting better at that, but it all just comes back to just doing what's required. I don't like to feel like I'm dependent on anything. I don't need melatonin to go to bed. I don't need caffeine to be a great worker, even though it helps, So at the end of the day, I don't need a 2 or 3 hour morning routine to wake up and be a killer and get the work done. So Going back to relentless effort, if you wanted to define that, I define it as craving the end result so badly that the work becomes irrelevant. So, we want to have this Bentley of accounting firms. We want to serve as many business owners as we can. So whatever work it takes to get that end result, we're willing to do.
Love that. And I think that speaks to maybe, and maybe I'm reaching here, but like, it sounds like there might be a parallel between the hard work that you put forth on the football field and in practice, the discipline that you had during those 6 seasons that you played, to now kind of transitioning into the business world. There's still especially in business, like discipline is required in a lot of areas in order to meet those goals.
Absolutely. Yeah. I attribute, any success I've had so far can almost directly be attributed to sports in one way or another, for sure.
Yeah. Love that. Finally, Do you listen to work, or do you listen to music during your work? And if so, tell me about your work playlist.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely not someone that likes to sit in silence. I mix it up. I recently Brain FM is good, so sometimes I'll throw that on. Sometimes I'm kind of a nerd. Like I would classify myself as like nerd jockey hybrid, like back in the day.
Nice.
So I'm a gamer. I'll listen to like Skyrim lo-fi music, which is super nerdy, but I'll listen to that sometimes. Brain FM, and then if we get a big win, I'll throw on some Jadakiss, some old rap music I love.
Love that.
I'm all over the place. And then when I'm with my fiance, we'll listen to Dean Martin and Frank
cool.
Sinatra.
Going way the other end of the spectrum. Yeah. The far other end.
Totally.
That's awesome. That's great.
Totally all over the place.
Yeah. Last but not least, I know you're in Utah. Congratulations on getting the hockey team. I grew up in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And we are absolutely heartbroken that the Coyotes are no more. Literally no more. Mm-hmm. Coyotes are done.
I know. Ryan Smith is
the man. He's the man. I love that guy. And, hats off to him for pulling the trigger on that and making it happen. But yeah, doesn't heal my broken heart losing the Coyotes, but I hope you enjoy.
Yeah, he's getting after it. I've been a longtime Jazz fan, so that's fun that he's bringing more sports to the state and keeps growing. Utah's an awesome place. Don't come here. Just kidding. But,
especially living in California. No California's allowed. Cool, man. Well, this has been great. I really appreciate you taking the time. It was awesome learning about your story. And finally, if somebody wants to get in touch about bookkeeping, tax related stuff, where can they find you?
Yeah, so our website's just STAXX.pro, not .com. It's STAXX.pro. Me and my partner Alex, we're both super active on Twitter. So, my at's kind of weird, but Based Accountant on Instagram. Look up Based Accountant on YouTube, or Dylan Hendrickson on YouTube, Alex Tenorio on YouTube. Any of those places are great, but STAXX.pro is probably the easiest to remember. That's just our website. So
love it.
Yeah,
and that's STAXX with two X's, right?
Crushing it. Yeah, STAXX with two X's. There you go. Good cool. Note. But yeah, if you're an online business owner and you're crushing and you need a little more support on the financial functions of your business, we would love to help you out.
Love it. Awesome. Thanks so much, Dylan. It was a pleasure chatting, and wish you guys all the luck in the world. Keep it up.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You as well. Good sir.
Thanks, man. See ya.